It's December at Math Science History, and that means it is Puzzle Month. Hi, I'm Gabrielle Burchak. I have a background in math, science, and journalism, and today I kick off 2 weeks of nothing but puzzles. The first one today is something you can listen to and solve at the end of the podcast. By the time you're done listening to today's podcast, you're going to know a little bit more about the history of a genius who enlightened our world. But first, a word from my advertisers. Fun fact, I can hear a flea fart, especially when I'm sleeping. So I'm a bit sleep deprived, but I discovered these awesome headphones called Acoustic Sheep Sleep Phones, and they are literally a lifesaver. I thought I was losing my mind with the lack of sleep. These headphones are soft, wireless, and they fit over your head like a headband. And they are perfect if you like to fall asleep to music, rain sounds, or a podcast like Math Science History. There's no poking in your ears, no earbuds, no cords, just 100% comfort. So visit mathsciencehistory.com/sleep to get your Acoustic Sheep sleep phones and get ready for the best sleep ever. Again, that's mathsciencehistory.com/sleep. Sweet dreams, my nerds. So today's puzzle is just for entertainment purposes. Tonight, we take an unusual journey, not through time, not through equations, but through a museum that should be closed, a museum that should be asleep, and yet it is not. You stand outside the heavy stone building as the city settles into its own quiet breathing. The street lamps hum faintly. The wind shifts just enough to brush your coat. A thin moon hangs overhead, its pale glow pooling across the museum steps like spilled silver. You shouldn't be here after hours, but curiosity is a stronger current than caution. And tonight, curiosity pulls you across the threshold. The museum doors close behind you with a hydraulic sigh. Not loud, but final. Your phone screen blooms into a white blue light. You tilt it forward like a small beacon, watching its glow stretch across the marble floor. The lobby is cavernous, shadowed, and empty. Only your footsteps accompany you, and they sound far too loud in the stillness. You lift your phone, trying to orient yourself. The museum map on the wall is almost impossible to read in the dark, but you know where you want to go. The Hall of Scientific Innovation, a special exhibit and one you didn't get to see during the day, and it has been calling to you all day long. At first, you think the low hum you are hearing is the HVAC system, but the pitch is wrong. It's too steady. It's too intentional. It rises as you cross the atrium. It's not threatening exactly. It's more like resonance, a faint electrical vibration in the walls, as if something is waiting. You move deeper into the museum. The security lights flick on in soft pools, circular islands of illumination surrounded by a thick shadow. You walk through one, then another, your footsteps echoing softly. Each time the light hits you, it feels like a brief moment of safety before the next stretch of darkness. The hum grows louder, and then you step into the Hall of Scientific Innovation. The hum stops, everything goes silent, and something in the darkness begins to speak. The museum's Hall of Scientific Innovation is long, so long you can't see the far wall. The moonlight spills through tall windows along the right side, striping the floor with pale, ghostly bars. You raise your phone, sweeping the flashlight across the corridor. Glass display cases gleam as your light passes. Brass instruments sleep on velvet, frozen mid-century displays. Coils and lenses, microscopes and meters, all arranged in reverent silence. The hum returns, softer now, but insistent. It pulls you toward the left side of the hall. There, under a large glass dome, rests a strange object, a heavy copper ring mounted around an iron core and wrapped with cotton. A primitive-looking apparatus, rough and handcrafted, but elegant in its simplicity. You recognize it instantly, or you think you do. Your footsteps slow as you approach. The hum deepens, vibrating through your chest. A faint glow spreads around the ring. It is a glow that absolutely should not be there. And before you can step back, the ring speaks. Its voice is low, resonant, almost magnetic.
"Traveler, do not be afraid,"
It says.
"I have been waiting a long time for someone to listen."
You freeze. Your phone shakes lightly in your hand. It says,
"I was born in a small laboratory in the year 1831. My creator was a quiet man with restless hands. He believed that electricity was not merely a phenomenon, but a relationship, a dance between forces. One day, he wound 2 wires around my iron heart and insulated them with cotton. He passed a current through one coil, and as his fingers brushed my surface, I answered him. I came alive. A changing magnetic field produced a current. A moving force created motion."
You swallow. You know this story. Electromagnetic induction. But the ring continues, its voice gaining strength.
"My discovery was simple, yet infinite in consequence. For I revealed a truth that no scholar could ignore. Electricity and magnetism are one. Through me, the world learned that motion could generate power, and that power could generate motion. Every motor that spins, every engine driven by invisible energy, they all whisper my name. And one inventor, one brilliant, restless soul, listened more closely than anyone else."
You take a breath. The air feels charged. It says,
"His mind raced faster than any current. He envisioned a world where machines could spin not from gears and steam, but from forces unseen, where energy could be transmitted without friction, without fire, without chains."
The glow from the ring brightens. The ring says,
"Remember the year 1831, and remember my lesson. A magnetic field that moves can make electricity dance. The man who mastered this dance changed the world."
The glow fades. The hum quiets. Your phone light wavers in the dark. You know this is a clue, yet you don't know where it quite leads. So you step away from the exhibit. Your heartbeat is still syncing with the hum. You feel it in your ribs and your fingertips. The museum seems even darker now. The shadows are thicker, as if the building itself is leaning in to watch. Your footsteps echo. The hum returns, drifting down the corridor like a whispered suggestion. You follow it. Your phone's beam skims across the floor, catching bronze placards and glass displays as you move deeper into the museum. The hum swells, then dips, then swells again like a voice guiding you toward the next artifact. The air grows colder. You turn a corner. The hum that guided you before now takes on a watery tone, a low, rolling sound like distant rapids. Something enormous stirs in the air, as if the room itself is breathing in a mist. On the wall hangs a long scroll, an old map drawn in deep blues and ochres. It ripples slightly, touched by a breeze that shouldn't exist indoors. When you step closer, you see it more clearly. A great river, curving through dense forests, ending in a broad, pale spray sketched with careful, reverent strokes. The map trembles, and then a voice rises from the parchment, older than the others, deeper, carrying the weight of water and memory. It says, "Long before iron wheels are turning shafts, long before gears chewed through the grain, there was only the great river falling, 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 in thunder that shook the bones of the earth." The map seems to swell with the sound of distant water. Your phone light skims across the drawing, and for a moment, the painted spray looks almost real. It says, "The people who lived beside this thunder knew it not as a resource, but as a relative, a living force whose voice carried wisdom. They called it the place where spirits walked in a mist, where the world spoke in a single, endless breath." The voice grows softer, respectful. "The Iroquois tribe told stories of the Maid of the Mist, of thunder beings who shaped the sky, of a power so vast it demanded reverence, not conquest." The parchment shivers again. The hum in the room deepens. It says, "But time has changed. New hands came, hands that listened not for stories, but for opportunity. The river's thunder turned the wheels of sawmills. It ground wheat into flour. It spun the gears that shaped timber for growing towns. And each new generation asked the same question: what more could the falling water do? Your breath fogs slightly, as though the room is much colder now. It says, at last, a mind arrived that dared answer, not with mills, not with wheels, but with a dream of distant cities glowing with the river's power. He looked upon the endless spray and whispered, "This is the pulse of a giant. Let it beat across the land." The map brightens, faint, pale blue streaks branching from the painted river like veins. It says, he built no mills. He harnessed no gears. He envisioned currents that swung back and forth, as surely as water falls downward. And with that dream, the river's thunder became a world's light. The voice pauses. Then the parchment recites a quiet, rhythmic poem, simple enough to carry in memory, subtle enough not to spoil the answer, but clear enough to anchor it. It says, where waters roar and white mists stagger, where spirits walked and mills grew stronger, where thunder's pulse became much farther, who harnessed the heart of the great river, whose name rhymes gently with the maiden of the mist, Lilawala. And then in 1896, its purpose changed. The thunder powered something much different, and it carried a force across great distances, a force some would say was most enlightening. The map goes still. The roar fades. Only your heartbeat fills the silence. The paper falls silent and you swallow hard. Piece by piece, a picture is forming as you gather your thoughts and the power of the river that you heard speaking. You know exactly where those waterfalls reside. But the museum isn't finished talking to you yet. The hum rises again, vibrating through the metal railings and the glass display cases. You walk deeper into the hall. Your phone is shaking slightly in your hand. The darkness seems richer now, alive. Your steps lead you toward a circular platform in the center of the next gallery. Something tall and metallic rests in the middle, half in shadow, half in moonlight. As you approach, a small spark leaps between two copper points. You freeze. The coils surrounding the device glow faintly violet, and slowly, very slowly, the coils begin to speak. The device is unmistakable, a tall coil wrapped in copper wire crowned by a metallic sphere. A faint ozone scent hangs around it, sharp, metallic, electric. Your phone flashlight wavers over the coil. More sparks crackle, and then, with a sound like a whisper caught in a storm, the coil's voice emerges. Do not be frightened. I have thrown lightning far greater than this. The coil hums softly and your skin prickles. It says, in the early 1890s, I lit rooms with no wires. I sent currents through the air like invisible rivers. I made lamps glow in my hands as if spirits lived within them. The museum lights flicker just once, as if responding. The coil continues. The man who built me believed that the earth itself was a conductor, that energy could spread across the globe like a gentle tide, that one day wires would be unnecessary and power would be as free as the wind. The coil's hum deepens. It continues, saying, he built me as a demonstration, a proof of concept. My frequencies were so high, so rapid, that my current passed harmlessly over skin. He stood before crowds, letting lightning crawl over his body like living fire. Sparks arc briefly from one loop of wire to another, illuminating the gallery in sharp flashes. And it continues. It says, some called him reckless, others called him a magician. But he was neither. He was a visionary. A final crackle. A halo of light dances around the sphere. It says, remember me. Remember the lightning. Remember the dream of wireless power. Only one inventor understood energy as music. a symphony conducted through the very air. The coil falls quiet, the gallery darkens, and somewhere behind you, you hear the quiet click of a light bulb turning on. You turn slowly. On a small pedestal near the corner of the gallery, a single light bulb glows a soft amber as if lit from within by a thoughtful candle. But the power in the building is off. There should be no light. The bulb brightens, and a voice, soft, tired, a little defensive, begins to speak. I belong to a man who despised change, a man of inventions, yes, but also a man of rigidity. He believed that electricity should flow only one way, forward, steady, predictable. The bulb flickers. His system was called direct current. It was safe, familiar, comforting to many, and he worked tirelessly to spread it across the nation. The pedestal vibrates gently. It continues. But there was someone else, someone he hired, and then dismissed, then underestimated. A faint electrical whine threads through the bulb's words. It continues. This other man had a different vision. He believed that current should alternate, not crawl, that energy could reverse its direction like a heartbeat, that electricity could travel farther, faster, and safer. The bulb grows brighter, warmer, but strained. It continues. When he tried to persuade the world of his system, the man who made me fought back. He called him a dreamer. He called him a fool. He tried every tactic, even the cruel ones, to make people fear the new current. You know exactly what the light bulb is talking about. It is about the war of the currents. The light bulb continues. But the dreamer, the so-called fool, he won. The bulb's glow steadies and then slowly fades until only the faintest ember remains. It says, remember the rivalry. Remember the war between currents. Remember the man who stood against one of the most powerful inventors in the world and prevailed. The light goes out. The museum is silent again. You stand in the darkness, the four voices echoing in your mind. A magnetic field made to dance in 1831. The giant waterfalls, a coil that threw lightning through the air, a rivalry with... Your footsteps are the only sound now. The hum fades away. The museum grows still, and you know the museum expects an answer. You stop in the center of the hall. The air feels charged, expectant. A final whisper curls through the darkness. It says, traveler, put the clues together. Who mastered the rotating magnetic field? Who made the great waterfalls and lightning? Who dreamed of wireless power, lightning without wires? And who waged and won the war of the currents? Who was the visionary behind the alternating current? The museum waits. We'll be right back after a quick word from my advertisers. You think about the four objects, the four moments in the chain reaction. First, you saw Michael Faraday's ring. He made electricity from magnetism. Then you saw the powerful waterfalls at Niagara. The third one evades you, but then you remember the light bulb, an Edison light bulb that told you about the war of the currents. There's only one answer to announce. Nikola Tesla. You say it out loud, and the name settles into the silence like a final chord. The exhibits dim, the hum dissolves entirely. The strange electric presence in the hall seems satisfied, as though the museum itself approves of your conclusion. Nikola Tesla. You take a deep breath. Your phone's flashlight flickers gently as you walk back toward the atrium. And as you go, you think about the four objects, four moments in the chain reaction that led to Tesla. No discovery exists in isolation. Science is a relay, one idea passing the torch to the next. Michael Faraday's induction, Niagara's power, the dream of wireless energy, the courage to challenge Edison's empire. Tesla may have been extraordinary, but he was also part of a greater lineage, a history of sparks, insights, and courageous leaps forward. Every invention we marvel at today stands on the shoulders of countless others, and tonight, the museum reminded you of that. Outside, the cold air meets your face as the doors whisper open. The night feels brighter somehow, faintly humming with potential. And as you walk back toward the street, you can't help but imagine that somewhere, far above the city lights, a thin strand of alternating current still hums through the darkness, carrying the legacy of Nikola Tesla, a man who seized opportunity and who held steadfast to his insights. An example for all of us to remember, to continue to trust your intellect, continue to build upon the discoveries that came before us, and to seize the day. And until next week's puzzle, which comes with prizes and merch, carpe diem. Thank you for listening to Math, Science, History. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a rating and a review, because those ratings and reviews really help the podcast. If you would like to listen to Math, Science, History without the ads on your podcast player, visit us at mathsciencehistory.supercast.com. There, you can sign up for a tier, which will give you early release podcasts, research notes, bonus material, and discounts on our merchandise. Also, you can find the transcripts at mathsciencehistory.com under the link called Transcriptorium. And while you're there, remember to click on that coffee button and make a donation, because every single dollar that you donate supports our production costs and keeps our educational website free. And until next time, carpe diem.
Do you love being surprised by an interesting story from an unlikely source? So do we at the Baggage Podcast, where four friends, a doctor, a prosecutor, a comedian, and a writer, interview ordinary people about their extraordinary experiences. There's something for everybody. There's the Vietnam vet talking about how he was ambushed during the Tet Offensive, or the comedian that suffered a fatal asthma attack during a show. That's right, fatal. There's also a death investigator who's seen more dead people than anybody you've ever even heard of. And we've had many other fascinating guests as well, and we're finding more all the time. So if any of this sounds interesting to you, then check us out. Search for Baggage wherever you get your podcasts.